Hi there, Chris from TotallyEV, and here I'm doing a dedicated audio review of the Hyundai Santa Fe. If you want a detailed review of the vehicle itself, make sure you check it up on your pop-up banner or by following the links down in the description below or the pinned comments. Now to kick things off, we have to talk about its audio configuration, and here in the premium model, you'll have a unknown speaker configuration, while if you go for the Ultimate or the Calligraphy, which is on review, you'll have a 12-speaker Bose audio system. Now, over the 130 plus cars that I've reviewed, it's the first time I've ever come across a manufacturer not sharing how many speakers are present in their entry-level trim. I'm not really sure why, but I've asked Hyundai UK's press team for some additional information, and hopefully I'll have it by the time I'm editing this video. If not, I'll pop it down in the description below. Now, as for the 12-speaker Bose audio system itself, I can break it down a little bit better, because here you have got woofer drivers that are found within each of the 4 doors, mid-range drivers that are found at the extremities of the dashboard and at the center as well, tweeters that are found within each of the A-pillars, and then you've also got surround speakers that are found within the C-pillars. Then you've also got a side-mounted subwoofer, which completes the 12-speaker setup. There's no wattage claims that has been shared by the manufacturer, and this is almost unsurprising because a lot of the Bose audio systems do not have any sort of wattage whatsoever, because the manufacturers don't really believe in wattage. I do think that's a little bit of an oversight, but nonetheless, I can only go based on the information that's been provided. Now, for you to tinker around with the audio drivers, at least on the Bose audio system, you'll want to navigate on the 12.3-inch infotainment system. And here I've actually left the dynamic speed compensation enabled, left the position in terms of its center position, and then added 4 notches to treble, 1 notch to mid-range, and actually taken 1 notch off bass. Now, there is also a Bose center point option which you can enable or disable, but oddly it's not actually comprised within the sound tab menu that you'll find within the infotainment system, which is quite frustrating to say the least. The only way to access this is for you to go on the small little pop-up media tab, which can be found, for example, on the home screen, and here we'll have a Bose center point option to enable and disable. I actually left it disabled, and I'll explain why further down in this video. Now, for you to connect up to the infotainment system, you have got Bluetooth with the SPC and AC codecs supported only. Thankfully, however, you've got higher resolution playback with the use of Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which are supported over a wired and wireless transmission, the former being the better out of the two because it doesn't rely on any sort of wireless transmission technology. Now, with that out of the way, let's get on to cabin noise, and here the objective measurements will be on your screen. What I'll say subjectively is that at lower speeds, the vehicle actually does do a pretty decent job, although the suspension system does have a little bit of an odd rebound, so if you're going over speed bumps at lower speeds, it can feel a little bit jarring. Nonetheless, over here, when you're driving at higher speeds, you will hear a little bit of road noise creeping in from the tyres and a little bit of wind deflecting off the A-pillars and the wing mirrors. However, in the grander scheme of things, and for a vehicle of its size and class, I've got no real complaints. And here the manufacturer should be proud of what they've been able to achieve. And I do think this is in part thanks to the fact that you have got an acoustically treated windscreen. Now, with all that said and done, let's get on to an audio demo. I'll be placing the camera and the microphone in a few different locations within the cabin and playing back Priya J's track, which is titled Like Me. So I appreciate an audio demo over YouTube is not quite ideal, because it doesn't give you a lifelike reproduction, but nonetheless I thought to provide it as to give you a bit of a taster as to what to expect. Now subjectively, I was actually left pretty impressed across the sound frequency range, and I'll go as far as saying that it's my favourite Bose audio system that I've reviewed within a vehicle. Now let me explain. First, in terms of the overall sub-bass extension, it's certainly there, and while it's not going to quite compete with some more premium audio systems out there in the market, which have got a beefier and more capable subwoofer, it does actually deliver good low-end extension. And so much so that while I was listening to some more bass-orientated tracks and at louder volumes, I even was able to notice that my rearview mirror was shaking. So yes, indeed, you've got plenty of grunt there. Similarly over here, when it comes to the overall mid-bass impact, the woofers that are found within each of the 4 doors actually do deliver plenty of presence, and they're also pretty precise as well. I didn't feel that they felt uncontrolled or wobbly. Now in this respect, I actually did reduce 1 notch via the bass EQ, and this was actually because it just felt a little bit too overwhelming. And that's coming from someone like myself who does actually like listening to a lot of bass-orientated music with R&B, D&B and EDM. So yes, over here you might actually want to tailor it even further down, for example if you're listening to classical music. Now unfortunately that sort of bass presence does leak into the overall mid-range, and as a result means that both male and female vocals are negatively impacted. And here this means that you've got quite a V-shaped sound signature, and this might be appreciated by certain individuals, but for me I actually felt that I actually wanted a little bit more from the vocal clarity. Now you might be quick to say, why did you only add 1 notch to the mid-range EQ? Because you could have actually brought it more to the foreground. And the reason behind that is because I felt that it actually took away from the overall accuracy, therefore taking away from what the artist was actually trying to reproduce themselves. As such, meant that I just had to accept that I had a bit more of a V-shaped sound signature, and the overall mid-range is not exactly this system's forte. Now as for the highs, at the front of the cabin they actually do excel pretty well, and this is thanks to the fact you've got those dedicated tweeters that are found within the A-pillars. Unfortunately, the same sort of comments cannot be said within the 2nd or the 3rd row because you've not got any tweeters whatsoever. As a result, means that at the front of the cabin you'll get the best sort of high-end extension. And in this respect, I also did add 4 notches to the treble EQ in order to really bolster that overall high-end extension without it sounding too sibilant or harsh either. Therefore, I didn't get any sort of ear fatigue. Now, this does actually bring me onto this overall soundstage reproduction. And here, I do think that the overall instrument separation is done pretty well, at least at the front of the cabin, because you've got quite a few drivers that are found within the dashboard. However, the same can't be said again at the rear of the cabin because you've got a limited number of audio drivers. Indeed, here you're only treated within the woofers, which are found within the rear doors, and other surround speakers that are found within the C-pillars. Therefore, meaning when it comes to giving you a bit more of that enveloping and more dynamic sound, you might be tempted to enable the Bose center point option. Now, the Bose center point option itself is handy for doing exactly that, but if you do enable it, you will quickly notice that the overall mid-range is completely stripped out, making it sound even more hollow. Indeed, over here, vocal clarity is severely affected, and while you are getting a little bit more of that extra width and depth, I just felt that having the Bose center point option enabled further detracted from the overall audio reproduction that I was able to expect. Now ultimately what I'm trying to say over here is that the Bose audio system that's comprised within the Santa Fe is actually pretty impressive across the board, and as a result gets our performance award. However, I can't quite compete with some of the more premium audio systems out there on the market, including some of the other alternatives that can be found at this price point. Now nonetheless, I'll be curious to know what you make of the audio system down in the comment section below, and how you feel the overall Bose system compares with some of the others out there on the market. Now, if you have enjoyed this detailed independent review, definitely do consider dropping a like, subscribing and hitting that bell notification, all of which would be greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Chris from TotallyEV, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.